Get talking into the economy. Zambia's annual inflation rate has fallen sharply from 9.4% in January to 7.5% in February, a significant 1.9% point drop in just 1 month, signaling easing price pressures and improving macroeconomic stability. The decline has been largely driven by improved food supply conditions, particularly as food carries the greatest weight in the consumer basket. Now, the exchange rate stability has also played a key role, with the firmer kwacha lowering the cost of imported goods. While the tight monetary policy stance of the Bank of Zambia continues to anchor inflation expectations, monetary policy typically works with a lag, meaning short-term improvements were mainly supported by food supply dynamics and exchange rate movement. Well, now we extend this conversation and just get to unpack what this means with economist Kelvin Chisanga, who's joining us in studio right now. Good morning, Mr. Chisanga, and welcome.
Good morning, dear viewers. Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you. Let's talk of this drop in inflation that we're seeing. An announcement that came from Zamstats a little early on. It's about just maybe 3 days before we end the month. But how sustainable is this decline that we have gotten to see for the month of February, and how should people view it?
Okay, so I would have loved maybe we took into elements of what has led as key drivers to this, but since you have asked me how sustainable, obviously we're talking of issues of agriculture production that should be able to sustain. Earlier on, I think I must have mentioned to say that agriculture always feeds inflation, and what we are seeing, as you have rightly mentioned, 50% of the consumer pricing index, which is in the basket, constitute of the food component, which actually interplays a quicker model to moderate inflation. What we are basically speaking here is that when you look at the inflation composition pattern, food component of this aspect is what is actually making the case to be, and it works with a quicker model, which we have actually been able to witness. So what I should be able to put across here is that if we were to look at the composition factor into the inflation pack, we are talking of exchange market, we're talking of the base effect, we're talking of the monetary policy rate from the Bank of Zambia, we're talking of the food aspect as well. So by and large, what I should be able to put across here is that once we get to harmonize export competitiveness that Zambia is producing right now, copper is standing on the north side of factors, which is actually helping to gravitate a good energy around forex market. Mind you, kwacha has appreciated about 18%, so that effect alone is also complementing to the case. Then we are in the period where some of the fresh foods like vegetables, fresh meals, and few others have also congregated an aspect of positive development from that perspective. So all these are basically making the case to the inflation pack.
Yeah. Now, and just speaking on the exchange rate, looking at its stability and the strength of the kwacha, do we expect this trajectory also to continue? Can we have foresight to say, well, I think we're going to be on this trajectory for a while?
Okay, so in terms of the forex market dynamics, obviously we understand that we've got a positive export receipts on the copper, matching with a very wonderful performance on the production side, with the mines that are basically making it up. And what we have seen that we don't have any policy inconsistency, that also gives the feeling. And again, the issue where we are basically standing on the positive trajectory in terms of the global market index. If we seem to see any sharp change in the global market in terms of copper pricing, it has got a very good uptick performance. If we seem to have any instability or sustainability model of pricing, it goes with maybe the improvement that can be seen from supply market like Indonesia, Chile, and many others who seem to have a mild disruption. But again, the key factor here is that there is a strong drive toward the energy technology. So meaning that energy transition is still driving the factor of copper. So meaning we just need to contain ourselves with maybe the election that we see, which is a potential risk in this case. If we have a credible election, fair election, then we'll be able to contain this positive movement that we have seen. So at the point where we are, Zambia is trending in a positive convergence. A lot of good things are falling in place.
Right. I'm curious, and I hate to digress a little bit, but just feed my curiosity here. We've seen tax waivers also being implemented within the mining sector. Copper is at its highest that we've ever seen on the market, so it's doing pretty well. But it looks like we're at a loss here because of that tax waiver. What do you think also government needs to start doing now before we, for me anyway, from as a layman, it looks like we're losing more money still, despite the positive gains, but it still looks like we're losing more money because of that tax waiver. When we look at the performance of the kwacha, things seem to be looking good, but still, again, we're getting less kwacha looking at the exchange rate.
Okay, so we're at a point where we have got a situation where Zambia actually faced policy inconsistency. And what we're trying to do is to gravitate a lot of investors to interplay into the market. And obviously, just some few months ago, possibly early last year, that is when we actually consolidated a number of legal disputes with Mopani, KCM, and many others. So we tend to have lost investors' sentiments out there. So we are sending the signal in the market to say, look, Zambia is now stable. It's got some waivers of some sort in terms of trying to kickstart your investment in the mining sector. And also we are looking at longer term now to put more effort, in fact, policy effort toward the value addition. So once we get to have a massive production in volumes, we should now be able to take ourselves to value addition, meaning we'll be able to do much of the copper manufacturing light in the market. So that's the next step which will be there. Because obviously the key issue is that also the aspect of government upscaling interest, especially when it comes to shareholding equity in most of the mining, including now exploration, makes a strong case now for Zambia to grow and to counterbalance some of the effect that we see. We are at a point where we are basically living now looking forward to interplay so strongly in the market in regards to the changes that we are seeing, upcoming. And much to this also, I think that's one reason why you're seeing projects like Kazungula Bridge linking strongly between Zambia and Botswana, making that strong case for us to have that region integration, meaning we can now start depending on each other in Africa, trying to make sure that we basically create that local processing capacity. Yes.
Now, I would like to bring the conversation here because we talked to the PS, I believe it's the Ministry of Energy, a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking to the performance of the sector, but also touching underperformance, actually bad performance. In his words, he said the electricity sector had underperformed for 2025, obviously looking at the situation that we were in, but looking at how we have started 2026, I know people are questioning these improvements that we're seeing because they are aligning it to the year that we're in, that it's an election year. So how do we bring authenticity now to the performances and improvements that we're seeing here and remove it from the political front that people might be attaching such improvements?
You see, that is the gist of the matter in the case, especially in this particular fiscal year. It's got a lot of mixed reactions, and I would give maybe a typical example. Actually, this should even be my dearest example. Would you love your house to suffer poverty or to experience poverty, or to maybe suppress that poverty by inviting somebody to come and help you in that house? Obviously, you look for a latter position, meaning you invite maybe even an invisible hand to start supporting you so that you take up yourself very well, so that your skin can nourish and all those things. So it's the same thing. Yes, in as much as it is bad to actually suppress the economic factors in the election year, it's good for Zambia Zambians. How it's good for Zambians? Because obviously we'll upscale job creation. We'll be able to have more production. We'll be able to be more competitive in export. We'll make the country to actually work out a number of things. It's a mix of real economy. What is happening? It's a mix of real economy, which you're talking about copper producing and all that. That is real economy supporting the fundamental basis of current performance. Then we've got also investors' confidence, meaning the debt restructuring that we did and many other good things that you media people speak about Zambia are also getting to have investors flocking into the country. Then the aspect of also political tone, where there is consistency in policy action, that also is augmenting to what you are seeing. So it's a combination of different factors. But what I should be able to say, I wish I could say it in Bemba. If so that you become better, because you see, when the economy is doing very well, you have had debates learning on Diamond TV. You have so many things. You manage to buy a car that will come because the kwacha is commanding low. It's a good thing for all of us. Let's not see it in the political sense of life. For me, that's what I should be able to say. Yeah.
Speaking of, the political lens here, or how, we hosted Mr. Bob Sichinga and Dr. Fred Member on the Diamond Breakfast yesterday, and they're not impressed with, how inflation is moving. For them, according to them, it's just a slow way in which prices do take to increase. So there's nothing to be excited about here. What are your sentiments when you hear politicians politicizing, even just some of the positives where the economy is concerned? Is this a mislead to the people? How should we also be able to receive this?
I don't want to use the word being patriotic to Zambia, because somebody will think as if I'm endorsing that word. Right. But the bottom line that we should be patriotic to our nation. And I would also flip the coin in this way to say, supposing these two individuals are in leadership, do they want the country to be going a different direction of what we are experiencing today? Because obviously, I will give a typical example, which is practical. I have a 1 million today. If I remove one kwacha, does it mean 1 million? Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing. Whatever small thing that we're making, it makes up the case. We are making a strong positive combination of what Zambia need to underscore. This positive convergence that we are seeing, I don't like commenting on political line, but I would love to say that...
no, just to bring understanding, because,
yes.
At the end, maybe people will think, no, it's true that this inflation, we're just still in a bad state.
No.
Just to bring understanding.
The key factor is that, as I mentioned, it's a mixed reaction. Right. What we are seeing happening is a combination of different conflicting factors. And what we see basically working out as a large base is the real economy, agriculture and mining. They are the ones which are anchoring what we are seeing. And of course, policy framework from the physical as well as the monetary authorities have also stabilized some of these things. They are anchoring also some of the expectation. Like, for example, when you look at the inflation trend in this particular month, what is anchoring inflation from speculative demand is Bank of Zambia. The policy that which was set does not give any sharp change, even from the economic market managers to just change things overnight. Meaning they are holding the expectation of the market. Meaning the hopes of the market, it's through that policy-led. Meaning even when you look at the sustainability aspect, it goes also with that line to say the Bank of Zambia should be able to be light in place, working with vigilance regarding the inflation development and patterns. So now, flipping to what you are basically asking, yes, we may politically the economy, but again, it's required that we do not depoliticize the economy so that we can actually record key fundamental highlights for this particular economic structure. And Zambia requires to actually disembark from that thought to say what we do for the economy remains with the economy. What we do with politics remains in the political system. And we need to debate more on quality of policies as opposed to, working out or politicizing what is actually developing as emerging events. That becomes a difficult situation because we are also mirroring with the regional trends. What is happening in the global market also is cascading into Zambia. And this is what we are able to see as a good effect and the impact.
One thing many would think is okay to debate on also is data integrity. I mean, when official statistics are claiming progress but lived realities contradict them, it raises concerns around data integrity. Now, this what we're speaking about, announced by the Zambia Statistics Agency. Where's the gap here in making sure that we protect the integrity of such agencies?
Okay, so validation of some of this data usually comes from government-centered agencies like the Statistical Office. We're talking of Bank of Zambia, we're talking of ZLA, we're talking of different other institutions, which include even external bilateral, multilateral organizations like the IMF also projects into that. So what I'm trying to put across is that the new economy has given a substantial effect that we are all feeling to see. And much of what we can see, even when you look at the trade matrix or mechanics, we are talking of the trade surplus, which is standing in the north. We're talking of the reserves, which is also standing in the north. We are also talking of the appreciation of kwacha, which has actually substantially helped. Then the issues to do with policy action, where the Bank of Zambia and the central government, they're talking of saying, oh, we cannot just receive tax receipts through the dollar-dominated currency. Can we also introduce Chinese? And can we also put a threshold on Zambian kwacha? Can we also invite maybe foreign participants into our local bonds? All those are issues that are basically changing the course of what we are seeing in the economic patterns. The current scenario is that some of the things, if you're even just, for example, cracking down the effect that has come in the inflation, the 1.9%. The 1.9% is composition of one. Food inflation has got 1%, which has contributed to the case of what we are able to see. Then we're talking of fuel cost, which is actually standing at 0.3%. Then we're talking of exchange market, which has also performed very well, contributing to the inflation basket about 0.4%. Then we're talking of the Beso effect. Compare the performance of February last year and today. There is a different disparity, which has actually now given that best effect in a perfect order. And what we are seeing also that the Bank of Zambia is a live factor in this case, because they are holding now to say all these factors that are contributing to the inflation. The Bank of Zambia is most likely handing over the situation that can emerge, especially when it comes to external factors or shocks. So what I should be able to put across is that the issue of data, yes, it's an important aspect that even speaks now to gravitate or attract investors in the country. And I'm sure if you're looking at the policy framework in this year, it's quite consistent. And what we see, the policy outlook, despite maybe having election, will not be able to see any divergence. Maybe as a matter of peculiar interest, maybe just to divert a bit, what we are seeing is a situation where our budget is not going to meet the expectation of this year, because we have increased about 70% of MP seats. That requires budget supplementary. Now, look at the case here. We are remaining with almost like 80 days for Parliament to dissolve. If we do not work out any means of this situation to act for supplementary budget, it means the time when we'll be in election time from May 15 up to August, we should be able to have the president and the PS Minister of Finance to constitute cabinet, the two of them, to increase the budget. So that is a scenario which we're trying to look at. So all these factors are basically things that we should be able to anticipate happening. And what we see basically taking place in the economy you can feel it. You know, the economy has also got some feeling. When you basically speak anything, the sentiment that goes out there can also distort the pattern of what we're trying to build. So we are basically consolidating some of the gains that we basically had from the positive momentum of 2025, meaning what we're seeing as coming in first month of this year, January in particular, and this month, it's basically a positive influence of what we built in last year. So if we tend to have fiscal discipline around what we are basically working out with with regard to government affairs, we'll be able to contain a strong positive economic growth pattern that should be able to be recorded at the end of it all.
So let's conclude on this note. So right now, fiscal discipline and government spending controls are also very key during this time period, especially looking at how sensitive the year is.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We have been speaking with economist Kelvin Chisanga, and this is, of course, highlighting factors centered around the 7.